This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and today we're going to look at the HTC 8XT. A lot like the 8X, a couple of important differences. This time available on Sprint. Yay for you Sprinties. You don't get many Windows phones, so this Windows 8 phone is for you. We're going to look at it now. So this is the HTC 8XT. It's available now on Sprint. $99 on contract after a $50 rebate, so fairly affordable there, and you get a pretty nice phone for your money too. Not the super duper top spec kind of phone, but then again it's not $199 on contract or more like the top tier phones are. It comes in just this one blue color, but it's a really nice color, and I think it's fairly well suited to either gender. A little bit different from the 8X, which had a single body color here. Here we have a little differentiation in color. I don't know if they think that's stylish or what the deal is there. I assume so because it's a different color. Or maybe just to clue you in more that this is a little bit unusual for a Windows phone. Not so many of them have this. You can actually remove this back. This big section here, you press with two fingers, you slide up, you struggle some more. You wonder if you're going to need a jackhammer, but you'll eventually get it off unless you have somebody in your office or in your home who's particularly talented at these kind of things. Not something that you want to do every day. See, the cover actually wraps around on the sides here, so when you're pushing it off, it's kind of hard to not actually grab it and obstruct it. That said, still a nice looking phone, soft touch finish, unique kind of design, really tapered on the side, so it makes it look thin. Everything that we liked about the 8X is pretty much the same true thing here. A really nice design. Looks like a quality piece, doesn't look like a budget phone, certainly. Your volume rockers are over here. Power button is up top, as is your 3.5mm combo audio jack for headphone and mic. And on the back you can see a little styling change. They put this big aluminum surround around the lens and the camera flash for your rear camera. Notice the Beats Audio logo here. We do have Beats Audio. And something new for this versus the 8X is HTC's Boom Sound stereo audio. Holding it this way so you get the idea with separated sound. There's a little slot here, there's a big slot here, and there's speakers under each one for better than average audio. Doesn't sound quite as good as the HTC One, I have to say, but then again, the HTC One is a more expensive phone, too. On this side, we have the required Windows dedicated camera button here. Well, Windows phones have that feature. Good feature to have. Capacitive buttons on the front here, a little contrasty, easy to see in any light. I appreciate that. It drives me crazy when you have a black phone with kind of black keys that really don't show up unless you start touching the screen to kind of brighten them up, and then you've done something that you didn't want to do before you know it. The display is a super LCD display, Corning Gorilla Glass 2 on top. The disappointment here is that it's only 800 by 480 resolution, not 1280 by 720 or something higher like we had on the HTC 8X. So you're not going to have as sharp a text here. But it is only 4.3 inches, so it's not, by today's standards, a very big screen phone either. So yeah, the pixel density is not super duper high, but it's not too terrible. And Windows handles typography very nicely, so helps a bit there. Running standard Windows 8 phone here, a couple of HTC customizations, a little bit of Sprint customizations, but not too much. They've got their matching live tile color that matches the body of the phone, and the only two Sprint apps that are installed here is right here. We've got Sprint TV and Movies and Sprint Music Plus going on. They've also added Telenav Scout, which is a pretty decent mapping and POI application, and if you pay, you can get spoken turn-by-turn directions as well. Otherwise, just some straight HTC add-ons here. And your Windows stuff. We have the HTC flashlight application. We have the HTC app, which brings you that weather and clock that you might remember from the Windows and mobile days and also from older Android phones. HTC camera in addition to the Windows phone camera. Now this is probably going to confuse some people. The good news is it brings some extra features like HDR and panorama mode, but it actually loses a couple of features like text macro shooting mode. And we'll look at those a little bit later. We've got HTC Burst, which really, if you tap on it, just says that anything you shoot in burst mode is going to show up in your gallery. That's a part of the HTC camera app in terms of how you're going to control it. Their Make More Space app, something like Nokia has to compact space, should you have fragmentation. Photo enhancers on board. I've installed speedtest.net for our speed test, and we'll take a look at how it does with that. We've got visual voicemail on board. And of course you have the mobile version of Office and IE on here because this is a Windows phone. It has a gig of RAM, which is pretty standard these days for Windows Phone 8 devices, and 8 gigs of internal storage, not 16 like you'll see on some of the higher end phones. But the good news is, under the cover, difficult as it may be to remove, there's a microSD card slot so you can expand storage. So that 8 gigs of internal storage isn't exactly the end of the world. Nice. The phone has 4G LTE, as you can see, our symbol right up top there. Also EVDO Rev A 3G on Sprint's network. It does not have GSM roaming capabilities. Has a standard Windows dialer UI, nothing too special there. And this is what our dialer looks like. Really nice voice quality on this. We were pretty pleased. On Sprint's network, we actually had pretty much landline quality calls, and Windows Phone tends to have good volume. If you bring it up a little bit higher, it's louder than the average phone as well. So as a voice phone, this does quite well. HTC and Sprint claim up to 14 hours of talk time. Of course, that won't be on 4G because they don't do voice over 4G, but that's pretty good talk time. 1800 milliamp battery inside. And, you know, battery life is actually pretty good on this. Speaking of battery life, let's take a look inside. So here's what it looks like once we remove the cover. You notice that the battery is still sealed inside. Probably in an effort to make it thin, so that's a little bit of a shame. But here you can see, here's our micro SIM card slot, and this is the micro SD card slot in there. And otherwise, we have a lot more pretty blue plastic to admire here on the back, and our information about the phone is actually in a cover underneath, so you don't have to have an ugly sticker on the outside. Cover itself, this is what it looks like on the inside. The phone does have NFC, by the way, and it's a lot easier to get the cover on than it is to get it off. Just slide it right back down and you're good to go. How about data speeds on Sprint's LTE 4G network? We have, as you saw, 2 to 3 bars of signal there, so okay signal, not super duper great. And we'll see how it does. Typically, because they use a higher spectrum, building penetration is an issue. We are about 8 feet from some big windows, which should help it a bit. And on the second story, nonetheless, not too impressive right here. Not when you compare it to AT&T and Verizon's LTE anyway, and sometimes even T-Mobile's HSPA+, let alone their LTE where they have it. So a little lackluster, but let's take a look at our results. So I can point something out. You see the low numbers? These were done indoors. Again, at the upper story of the house, so no problem there. We're not exactly in a lead-lined vault here, folks. It's just a regular structure. But when we go outside, see how much the numbers jump. That's just right outside the door to this building. So really it's going to depend on your coverage, obviously what kind of building you're inside given the network penetration issues, but you can see the range of results we got. Not bad when we're outdoors. Certainly if we were even closer to a tower, it'd probably be even better. Definitely a huge improvement over Sprint's 3G network, which tends to really rarely break 1 megabit per second in terms of speed, so can't complain too much if you're a Sprint customer when you've got this kind of improvement. The phone has dual band Wi-Fi, 802.11bgn, Bluetooth 3.0, NFC, front camera 1.6 megapixel, and on the back we have an 8 megapixel shooter. Pretty much the same thing that you find on the HTC 8X, and that's not a bad thing. Backside illuminated sensor, fast f2.0 lens on this, so fairly capable, pretty decent low light. That LED flash helps. If we take a look at the camera applications, first we're going to look at HTC's camera application. So here we are in the HTC camera application. We have tap to focus right there. Not the fastest to focus, but not too terribly bad here. We have color filters available. We've seen those on other HTC phones. Switch between photo and video, and there's little dots that are hard to see right here, but they bring up photo and video settings. We'll take a look at those. So we have scene, and you can choose from things like night, HDR, panorama, anti-shake, or auto default. Continuous shooting for the burst mode, wide crop mode, regular or even square. Turn your shutter sound off here, so a couple of options. And if we take a look at our video settings here, full HD video recording or a variety of lower resolutions. And we have things like saturation, color sharpness, white balance. Well, pretty decent set of settings for video where usually you don't see a whole lot of settings. And up here we can control our flash. And we can take a picture just by pressing on the shutter button. Make sure to hold the camera still or the phone. And we just did a burst mode. And you can see all the shots that we got from that. Now if we go to the Windows camera application, you have some different settings here. We'll just leave it in portrait mode this time for photo settings. Notice you have text and macro modes here, backlight, a couple of actually extra things. So you may be bouncing between these two until you find that the settings that you need are available depending on what you're shooting. So how do those boom sound speakers sound? Check out the Xbox music player and find out. It's pretty loud. We're at about 2/3 volume level. I'm at max. I do notice some distortion at max volume, which is something I don't hear on the HTC one, but overall that's definitely better than the average smartphone for audio quality. For web browsing, we have IE10 mobile on board. And now we're loading our website using Sprint's 4G LTE network, so that's pretty good actually. And IE has grown up. It does a fairly good job of rendering websites for those of you who are new to Windows Phone, which you just might be if you're on Sprint, since there haven't been too many. Pinch zooming works just fine. You've got HTML5 video here. You don't have Flash video, however. And we'll check out our video review of the Nokia Lumia 1020 to check out streaming of YouTube hosted video. And it automatically switches to full screen. This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and today we're going to look at a pretty special phone. This is the Nokia Lumia 1020. Well, it's a lot like the Nokia Lumia 9. And it sounds good, it looks good, and again, that's on Sprint's LTE network, so obviously even when we're just getting 5 megabit per second down, there's enough speed there to deliver a nice YouTube experience on the phone. And like all Windows 8 smartphones, this does support multitasking. Press and hold on the back button and you can see all the games, programs, everything that we've got running right here, which is actually quite a bit. Hit back again to get out of it, and if you want to use voice command, also standard, press and hold the Windows key till you get a prompt. Pizza in Boston.
Searching for pizza in Boston.
And there we get it. We get web, we get local results if we happen to be local to Boston at the moment, which sadly we're not, and more options. So that works just fine too. As I said, you also get mobile office, you get Bing Maps for location, Scout is installed, and you can download Here Maps too, which is really an excellent mapping POI and spoken turn-by-turn direction application that's free on the Windows App Store. Speaking of the App Store, still not nearly as many applications as iOS or Android, but a decent number of apps. All the core apps are there that a lot of people use. Things like Netflix, for example, are there. There are Dropbox clients, still no official Dropbox client from Dropbox themselves, though. Quite a few games, including Xbox games. News applications. So it's not an absolute horror show or anything like that. You'll find enough apps to get by with. Now, if you're a real app junkie and half of the joy of a smartphone for you is installing all those apps like Instagram and everything else, yeah, it still might not be the phone for you. However, gaming is a pretty good experience. You're going to check out a game now. So we're playing Nova 3 right now. And the colorful display is really pretty nice for playing games. It looks reasonably sharp. Brightness is adequate, not super duper bright, but you see a low resolution display is not necessarily that nasty a thing. And with our 1.4 gigahertz Snapdragon CPU. Here we've got enough horsepower to play the game. Dual core CPU. Surprisingly, we're actually seeing some frame drops here. This is a pretty capable CPU. We got a gig of RAM. I'm not really sure why that is. It's still certainly playable, but I'd like to see a little bit better. So that's the HTC 8XT. It's available now on Sprint, $99 on contract after rebates, and let's face it, it doesn't have much competition if you're looking for a Windows phone on Sprint right now. But that said, it actually is a really nice phone. It's good looking. It's solidly made. Maybe not top specs among Windows phones, but still, for the price, pretty nice. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Visit our website for the full review, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.